Welcome to the Data Product Management in Action podcast, created and executive produced by me, Scott Hurlman, and brought to you by Soda, your best friend in data quality and contracts tooling. We created this podcast to serve as a place for actual practitioners bringing product management practices to data, whether that is to AI and ML, data products, platforms, or everything else in data, right? And it's to dig into the nitty-gritty of product management in data, but in fun and dynamic conversations. It's not just lift and shift from software product management. We have a great set of hosts for you that are also practitioners, so they can really get into those specifics and dive deep and get you the information you want to know rather than just high level, here is what a data product is. This is about cutting through the noise of data product management to drive towards actionable insights, hence the actual podcast name, Data Product Management in Action. So sit back and enjoy another awesome conversation.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Data Product Management in Action. Today, I'm happy to welcome a person who brings a lot of experience to the table, not only in the field of data, but also especially in the field of product management, because this is the way how we got to know each other. So I met Pradeep Fernando on a conference for product management, actually, back in the days in Zurich, where we were talking about digital product management. And I finally found out then that Pradeep is using product management not only in a digital world for any kind of software applications, but Pradeep is using product management in the field of data, AI, and analytics. So I'm really happy to have him here today. My name is Nadiem von Heydebrand. I'm your host today, CEO and co-founder of Mindfuel. And please, Pradeep, it's an honor to have you. Please introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, thanks, Nadiem. I'm happy to be here, happy that we could actually get to talk about data and product management. So my name is Pradeep Fernando. I'm a VP of product at Swisscom. It is one of the biggest telco in Switzerland. And I'm working as VP of product in our centralized data analytics and AI unit. And I'm there. My responsibilities are, one of the big ones is I'm responsible for what we call our core data products, and currently also leading the transformation into data products in a data mesh, even in the cloud. And I'm also responsible for the self-service and analytical parts of what we're building in AWS called One Data Platform. And this includes BI tooling, machine learning tooling. And finally, I'm kind of responsible also on the data or metadata management initiative, where we are also trying to build a Swisscom-wide enterprise data catalog and metadata management platform.
Yeah. So a lot of topics to touch upon. I'm really looking forward to this episode, Pradeep. Before we kick it off and before we start the conversation, my typical question usually is, before I delve into content, what is your favorite data product? Could be business related, could be in your private life. So if you think of a data product for yourself, what is your favorite?
Can I name two?
Okay, you can name.
So let's start with the private life. So I think for me, what immediately comes to mind is like Spotify and this end of year, like insights they send you about how many songs, what songs, the genres, and so on. And at least being a product manager, I start to reflect and see that, hey, like this song was really cool. It brought me so much joy. And also it kind of is a reflection of my mood over the year. And it really gets me thinking. And so this I really love. And from a professional standpoint, I think it depends on how you define data products. But one of the things that I built up from scratch was kind of our self-service self-service console, we call it, like Swisscom Data Console. for managing all our assets that are on-premise, so all the data platform products. And this is something I'm super proud of, and it's quite successful. And even our demo sessions we have around, now actually it's even increased, but when I was actually still actively managing it, we had around 100 to 150 people attending just the demos. So this was super cool to see the engagement, and also like when you had feedback surveys to see the feedback we were getting. So that really is one of my favorite data products.
And those 150 people participating in the demos, all of them knew what a data product is?
They were all kind of my customers, right? But they were all building data pipelines on these platforms. So some of them were hosting data products, some of them were building the applications, so use cases on top. And so for them, this was crucial to get the flexibility in order to build this.
And when somebody of these 150 people, or even their managers, maybe not the engineers themselves, but their managers or senior managers are approaching you and saying, hey, Pradeep, it's nice that you're providing something called data product. It's interesting, but can you explain to me, what is a data product? How would you respond to them?
I think it depends. So in my portfolio, at least when I started, I started in the data product management space in 2018. 2017, but I was truly responsible for stuff in 2018. And so even then, we had platform products. We had our data warehouses with the data teams building data pipelines on top. And we had maybe only one or two teams that were also implementing the use cases. And so we already had these three types. I know Mindfuel has the data product framework, so it's kind of in sync almost. I think we just use slightly different names, right? So for us, it was like we went through a big transformation. So when I took over as PM, basically just before we were working in Waterfall, and the teams were even called, or the unit itself was called BI and Big Data Delivery Unit. And it was so clear, right? So delivery unit, you get an order, you get the requirements, you get the budget approved, and then their job is to deliver these requirements in good quality, on time, within budget, right? So that's all the responsibility itself was. And then you have project managers and team leads and tech leads, but you don't have product managers, right? And for me, the challenge was really to, when we actually, we did almost an instant switch. We chose Scaled Agile framework for our agile transformation, but within that, they're all called product teams, right? So I had exactly these discussions with my product owner team. At that point, I had like 12 POs who used to be tech leads, team leads, project managers. Now they're called product owners. And I gave them the exercise of defining their products, because you own a product, what is it? And they just asked me exactly like you, but what is a product, right? And in the end, we just said, hey, whatever we are offering to our users, like things that the users can touch and interact with and get value from it, this is a product. And a data product, all of our products are about using data to get value. And so all of them are products. And then I think over time, we just said, okay, but these are platform products, so they are data platform products. And we called it data as a service at that point. Unfortunately, maybe as a service was not the best idea, but those were all the data products that we were managing on the data warehouse. And then we had the applications, but the application, they just had the name of the application, right? So we have a Customer 360 application, and this was used for automating.
Can I ask one question in there, Pradeep? So you just explained that you have this kind of categorization, the platform, the data assets, and then the analytical products or whatever categorization. Do you still use these categorizations today, especially when you explain this to your customers? Or do you just tell to the customers we're having data products and it's not so important for them to distinguish which category of data product we're talking? Actually, it's just important maybe for your own team that you have a kind of terminology. So how do you experience that at the moment? Or
I like the German word "jein."
yeah.
Yes and no, right? So the thing is, when we start our discussions, this doesn't come up. It's basically, okay, we have this business project. This is the business objective, and we need data and everything else to support us, right? So then we start discussing, okay, I say, okay, I can do this, this, this. But sometimes what happens is when it comes to discussions about budget and why it is so much effort, then it helps to explain to them, hey, but this is not something that is just everything is ready and we just have to implement the use case. We actually have to even get the data, model it, and offer this data product so that some other team can actually build the application on top. And sometimes it's even, we need to basically have, like, maybe as an example, we only have internal clusters. We need an internet-facing cluster, which is a completely new platform feature, right? And this will take even longer and cost more money. So to explain the complexity, it helps to actually have this kind of step-by-step abstraction, right? And to say that there is work not just at the top level, but also at the other levels. And this helps them a lot. So they really then now understand when I say, hey, we have some platform work to do, they know what I'm talking about.
No, super interesting. And I fully understand when it comes to communication in or explanation and justification in detail, that it helps to illustrate these dependencies between infrastructure work and asset work and use case work. And I was just wondering, because yesterday I had a conversation with the data leader, and she told me they've been discussing the topic around data product for now 12 months in their organization, and they stopped the discussions now. They just talk about data product, and data product are everything. And of course, her own team can distinguish between the different categories, but when they talk to stakeholders or when they talk to internal customers, they try to avoid these conversations because it doesn't bring any added value to have a clear explanation for people who are just want to use or who are just want to create value from data. And I think this is where we can really find a common ground. A product is always defined. It has to generate outcome instead of output. Outcome is the output which creates added value for the consumer of the product, right? So I think this is where we all agree.
Yeah, I think even in Swisscom, so I don't try to standardize these definitions too much. So only for my teams that we follow this kind of terminology, and maybe slightly bigger for the whole data analytics and AI unit, we try to do this. But for example, with enterprise architects, they do like to get into these discussions, but they are mainly focusing on data asset products. We are looking at the data platforms, but for them, these are applications. And so I don't even go to these discussions because in the end, it turns into just a pedantic discussion, right? So is this useful for everyday work? If it's not, okay, spend too much time discussing it.
Maybe before we shift towards the topic around data product management specifically in your life, and maybe one last question with regards to the product types and categories. How do you deal with AI products now? And I'm pretty sure, like in every corporation at the moment, all the topic around AI is super hype. And so is this also now a new category for you? Or is this also in your scope, or are you working on that at the moment? So what is your perspective on the whole AI product, Gen AI topic when it comes to data products?
I think it is a different product. So right now we're treating it completely different. I mean, so recently, just this year, I am in the lead for the machine learning platform products, basically. And so but we had a lot of conversations with the people who build the use cases or even who create the features and so on. And so we had some conversations and we ended up thinking that actually machine learning, the ecosystem around machine learning, it's very similar to building data pipelines and data-driven applications, right? And so we actually saw parallels. So we looked at, you need like a ML ops enabling things, for example, like a SageMaker, right? And so you need kind of this tooling to be there for both prototyping operations. And then you need features which are actually data products in some way, right? And so you need kind of this data also prepared in specific ways. So there are even data products. And then you have the use cases that are built on top. And now with Gen AI, basically, there is a self-service now at least at Swisscom, what we see as what we can add value on top is to make the creation of bots for Swisscom use cases easy, but it using the models from the open source and LLM models or like third-party models. But we are not creating the models ourselves, right? And so we came up with a very similar structure for machine learning. This was just to make or align on who does what within Swisscom easily. What we saw is there's a very good parallel.
No, got it. It makes total sense. And I think we can observe this in a lot of organizations at the moment, that there are a lot of parallels, and also the conversation that AI products are differently to data products, but still, or a different category, but still can be dealt as any kind of other machine learning model or any other analytical product, if you want. So, and providing this then to the right use case or business opportunity of the business partner to realize an efficiency problem or to solve an efficiency problem at that point of view. Pradeep, I really would like to also shift over to the topic of product management a little bit, because I think for the audience, it's super interesting to hear and learn from your journey. You're doing this now for really a long time, since 2015. I think you've been a product owner or product manager already. And I think you are a great promoter of the discipline of product management. And so you are, I know that you are a big promoter of the discipline. So it would be interesting for us to learn from you, what is product management for you? Like really the discipline product management. How have you integrated product management in the world of data? So how have you shifted it over? And also maybe how has evolved this over time for you in your role, in your career? So if you can share a little bit your journey in data product management, especially with with the product management angle, I think is super interesting.
Yeah, I think for me, so I'm a computer scientist by background. So I made the switch to corporate in 2015. But I was like very stung by basically Lean Startup book, and I wanted to get into product. And I joined Swisscom as a product manager. And actually my first full-time job was in the B2B side of things. And so I had some experience then trying to apply it, but I was also super passionate about the whole lean product management thing then. I think that was a big hype then, right? There were many books and many people. And I think for the first time, people started talking about focus on the problem, not the solution, and so on. So it really kind of aligned with what I was trying to bring to the company. And this helped me that I had the experience just working on B2B side, figuring out what it takes to build a product, to manage a product. And I even had the opportunity to both create a completely new product, whereas take over and kind of improve profitability of a mature product and so on, right? So I saw both sides. And then at some point I decided, but I want to really be in a very tech domain. And that's when I switched over in 2017 into the BI and big data delivery unit. When I first started, I mean, to be honest, I was a little bit confused because I was hired. And then I realized I was the only product manager. And everybody, all the stakeholders I was visiting, they were like, but what is your role? And I was like, that's right. If it's only a delivery unit, what is my role, right? And so then I started to really discuss with my boss and others. And then basically it was clear that this agile transformation was coming and we were following SAFe. And what helped me a lot is that in the scaled agile framework, we don't just have agile teams, we have product teams. And it is following Scrum where you have a product owner, right? And so it was quite easy for me, at least, to say that we should follow product management principles. And it was literally like this. I had 12 product owners, none of them with any product management experience, right? I mean, they did the Scrum PO training one day, great, and next day you're a PO, right?
Exactly.
And
but they were also most probably then focusing on the delivery side of the house, so of the doing the things right and the whole discovery part, which is so crucial in product management. So doing the right things and discovering the right problems, like problem discovery, solution discovery, everything which is like the core of product management is, from my experience, not covered in Scrum, neither in any kind of PO trainings.
Exactly. So for me, but maybe one thing I can say is what helped me a lot is that my boss and also our business sponsor for the whole unit, both of them were quite empowering leaders. And they also kind of defended me when I was trying to push in these product management principles, right? Because one of the things, for example, I mean, it's not just, you need to, I think, really look at the whole picture. So one was, I was talking with my product owners, trying to figure out at what level they are and how to level them up, right? But the thing is, that would only work if the stakeholders are happy if they work like this. Because pure problem discovery, right? If you try and ask what is the value of whatever you are requesting, some of the stakeholders don't like it. They were never challenged about this before, right? And so it's like, what? But why do you need all of this information? And why are you asking me so many questions, right?
You're just a delivery guy. Please, why are you talking to me about my business? I tell you what I need and then you deliver.
Exactly. So, I mean, the good thing was they were no longer bringing the budget. So this was a financed team, right? Or unit even. I mean, I had at that point 15 teams. So all 15 teams are financed. So I'm not reliant on them bringing the budget in, right? So this helped. So I think they started to realize, oh, but I need to pitch to get my stuff done from, then it was called Data Lake, our unit. And so it's helped. But also, I was quite persistent with my POs to make sure that they are asking these questions. And I made sure that this is a standard, right? Because if only one of the POs do it and the others don't, then people will try to find the loopholes in the system. So that was one, I think in general, but it has been very rewarding sometimes, very challenging sometimes, and frustrating. And with time, what I also started to realize is you really need to keep at it. And I tried to work on the problem in multiple dimensions. But I think you need to really have quick wins and show them. And for the POs, what was the quick win was to just implement metrics, right? So because they were asking me, why should I challenge the stakeholders? Stakeholders, they know their business. And so if they say they need something, they really need it. And then what happened is I just told them, okay, but just measure how much is the usage of your products. Right? And then once they saw the usage, they started to come to me, some of them, and said, oh, the stakeholder, he told me that this is absolutely critical and it's needed yesterday. And now we have 0 users on it. And then they started to see that it is not, even for business people, it is not so easy to actually predict what is really required, right, as a solution. And so that's when they started to engage more in this product management discipline. And then when I started to propose trainings, they were happy to actually take and do it, right? And so this then helped. And once you have a few people doing it and showing that this works, others also jump on the train, right?
I can fully agree on that. So I did a lot of data product management training, and then I was a trainer and educating a lot of people in data product management in the last couple of years. And especially when I had trainings held or performed in business teams, they were actually super engaged and they were super collaborative. And it really bridged the gap between data teams and business teams when both audiences were educated or the maturity has been increased. So I can fully agree. So increasing maturity, literacy about data product management, about product management in general, the mindset of outcome instead of output, I think this is a huge benefit and drives a lot of
success. One thing I can add there is that all the principles of product management, they apply to data product management, even if you have internal customers and so on. And I think this is sometimes, at least with my POs nowadays, I don't have any discussions around it, but just ask them to just do it and see how this is going to help you, right? Because even simple things like, even in data product management, data is important, or metrics, product metrics and so on. And this was just crazy that I had to convince data product owners and others that data and metrics are important for our own data products. But once you have this, it becomes super easy to talk with stakeholders to say, hey, but you see the usage, right? So there is no business case behind this. So we were even doing things like phasing out some of our data products. And although the stakeholders were like, but why you just built it and why did you phase it out? And we were able to show the data and really have a good conversation around it. Really help do this.
Yeah, no, super understandable. And I think maybe also closing a little bit this chapter. So how many teams are working today in your scope, roughly?
Today, now I have a second colleague, my partner in crime, who has taken over some of the platform products. In total, I think the number of teams just in our data services unit is around 14. So I have 7, he has 7.
And all of them are applying product management principles and data product management end to end. And so
we have persona, we have value propositions, we have metrics defined, and we have roadmaps, but those are a little more output oriented, which is something I'm trying to fix.
But this is also normal. So then this goes out to all leaders. Empowerment is a good thing if you're hearing Pradeep's story. So he has been empowered by his leaders in driving product management back in the days. And you can see, I think Pradeep is the best example for how, empowerment of employees can really work out quite well. Pradeep, I would like to shift into one different direction, which is on maybe a little bit on my plate at the moment as well, but what I also see a lot in the market, it's the topic around prioritization of the right business opportunities. So I think, my point of view is that we should not dig for use cases. Use cases is an artifact of the solution space. When we're talking with business partners, then we should really always try to understand their problem and their needs. And like just the par excellence product manager is doing that, right? So we are discovering the problem space, and we're trying to do this with the help of business opportunities, saying, okay, dear business partner, if we as a data organization would help you, what would be the opportunity from your business point of view? And if this is a concept you would agree to, if this makes sense, maybe this is my first question. How do you do this today at this interface between data and business? Because there is sometimes a gap of maturity, literacy, also maybe understanding, but we need both sides, right? We cannot, as a data organization, we win if they win, right? We have this kind of win-win situation. And how do you prioritize? Because I can imagine you have a lot of demand.
Yeah. I mean, I think involving the stakeholders in priority decisions, this helps a lot. I think at some point I realized that it's better to let them fight it out between themselves rather than me trying to figure out what is the right priority, right? So what we do is typically we bring them all into the same room and show them this is the conflict that we need to resolve. And then I basically am a facilitator after that, right? And if they agree on this, then the other thing that sometimes we don't even quantify the actual business value, but sometimes we do, at least using proxies and so on. Yeah? So if you have other features that are higher and lower, you know that this is the kind of boundaries of business value for these in-between features, right? So things like this you can use to estimate better. But sometimes we even don't estimate it. We just say, okay, what is really important? And we let them decide the ranking of these features. So I think that is super important. So with some stakeholders, they actually, very recently, one person, I just asked him these questions, and 1 week later, he sent me a one-pager with everything, quantified and saying this is the potential and what is our current target with the current solution, at least with the request. And so that was super useful. But at the same time, there are others who find it difficult to figure out the smaller feature that is part of a much bigger project. What is this added value, right? And so because of this, sometimes we just resort to then ranking them with the stakeholders, right? So this helps. Where I find it more challenging is business features versus transformation, like cloud journey or refactorings and so on. I think this is where then what helps is having metrics, right? So to say that, hey, this is one feature you're talking about, whereas this compliance feature, for example, I had a recent conversation, this compliant feature, if we are not compliant, we need to shut down all use cases. And I'm pretty sure that trumps your single project and use case, right? And so that helps a lot. So then sometimes, at least for us, we have the number of teams that are using our data products. So this is a proxy kind of for the number of use cases that are there to do prioritizations.
Mm-hmm. So how do you super good. How do you prioritize? Do you have a score? Do you use any kind of methodology from SAFe, or is there anything?
We evolved. I think we started with weighted shortest job first, but at first I think we struggled with the relative, so we switched to absolute, but then came back to relative. But now I think we are working with just the rankings.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think sorry, go ahead.
And it's more like in terms of the teams themselves, we have business cases about what is the value we create, right? And so that kind of is used to allocate the budgets. But after that, individually within the teams, they just do the ranking. Some of them still do weighted shortest job first, but others do ranking. And if the stakeholders agree to the ranking, then we have no conflicts, right? So then we just
all in Excel spreadsheets, right?
Actually, yes. Fortunately, we use Jira, but somehow the structures, they are not so reliable. We tried using weighted shortest shop first. I mean, they do support it, but it was a hassle entering everything, ranking it, and making changes and so on. So yes, it's unfortunately still Excel.
All good, Pradeep. Thank you very much for sharing all these insights. I think this is super valuable for our audience, because a lot of our listeners, they are exactly in this position where you are at the moment. And from what I've learned about Swisscom also in the previous years now, is that you were always pushing for bringing product management or the product mindset into your data and analytics environment. Overall, it's not only about within your teams, but also when working together with your stakeholders, your business partners. You've been very strict on introducing SAFe. I mean, of course, you adapted it as well, right, to your needs. I think this is what everyone is doing, but really creating an agile environment where responsibility and accountability can really be lifted up by the people who own something like a product or a process or a technology. I think this has been realized, or has been brought to life at Swisscom very impressively, actually. So please, do you want to comment?
Yeah, I think that would be one thing. If anything to take away, I would say, what I would say is, do not compromise on the principles, but compromise on the details, right? Like, even with SAFe, even with using product management for data products and so on, or product definitions and so on, I think if you just think about the principles, rather than there needs to be one PO, one Scrum Master, one so many, or minimum of four engineers in a team and so on. I think what matters a lot is the principles. In the end, are we user-centric? Are we creating value, right? And if we can focus on this, I think it helps a lot to get the ball rolling. And in the end, the outcome is more important.
Absolutely. I mean, this is so I'm really living up for these principles of being user-centric, like clarity on your desirability, on viability, on feasibility, on datability, making sure that we have a clear understanding of what discovery versus delivery is, doing the things right versus doing the right things, and creating outcome instead of output, knowing what a customer truly is for us. So all these principles are so crucial to create success at the end and to create impact for the organization. I think this is what we're all aiming for, creating impact from data. So product management, or the principles from product management, are key for that. My very last question, Pradeep, for today would have been, so now today you've experienced so many different, or you gathered so many different experiences through your journey. What would you have known earlier? So let's jump back 3 or 4 years back in time. What would you have known back in the days, what you know today already? So what have you learned?
So if I were to tell my younger self, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. So looking back 3 or 4 years ago and today, what would have helped you to know already back in the days?
I think what helped me a lot is, I think, Petra Villa. She once in a talk, I had asked her a question, and she said, product management means different things in different companies, or at least like the perception of successful product management and what it should look like is different for different companies, right? So if you have somebody who is super trained and is living by Marty Kagan's principles, he might actually, or she might suffer in a very like enterprise company where they need output-based roadmaps and so on, right? And so I think that is something, in general, like data product management, there will be a lot of transformation work. It will be slow, and it will take time. And to manage your frustrations and to actually focus on the successes and to understand the company and stakeholders, I think this is something that helped me a lot. At some point, I was like, actually, she's right. At Swisscom, I cannot it's a big company. It's 17,000 employees just in Switzerland. And I cannot, and it has I think hundreds of product managers also in business and so on, right? So I cannot say this is how product management has to be lived and this is the only way of doing it and so on. So I had to really understand where I am and my stakeholders and to just focus on, are we actually living by the principles? If so, it's fine, right?
Mm-hmm. No, super. I think also, know the bets or know the fights you really want to fight, and choose your battles exactly, and know your radius of effect and all that stuff. I think it's a very good learning for a younger Nadiem or Pradeep back in the days. Pradeep, I really enjoyed the conversation. I think hopefully, and I'm pretty sure the audience did so too. And thank you very much for sharing all of this. And I'm really looking forward to meet you in person next time once again. Thank you very much for being here today. And to our listeners, thank you very much for participating here or for listening in this little conversation. And we're looking forward to delight you soon again. So this was Data Product Management in Action. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon, Pradeep.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening. Hopefully you got some great actionable insights out of this episode. We're so excited to dig deeper into data product management and its many facets. If you want to engage more with the show, you can follow us on LinkedIn and check out Soda's website at soda.io for more related content around product management in data. And if you are a practitioner bringing product management practices to data and want to potentially be a guest, please check the show notes for a link to apply. And as always, we strongly encourage people from underrepresented groups in tech to apply. Much as I'm a handsome devil, we don't want all our guests only looking like me. So again, let's get excited for more digging into data product management in action.